How you doing? I'm Big D. Welcome to my show. What I'd like to talk about today is silver and the benefits of silver and moving forward, the amount of money that we possibly can see in our pockets. Well, that's if you sell the silver. But a lot of people are nervous. They're a little leery about buying more silver. They're a little worried that it's going to drop back considerably. Well, that's understandable. But let me talk to you about what I know and with my research about silver and gold. Gold is going to be a part of this. So aren't critical minerals. The new policy that was signed by Trump and over 50 other countries, it is huge. And we're going to talk about it. Now, gold and silver are being repriced. You can only manipulate a market, and it's not debatable any longer that it's being manipulated. This policy was signed, and they acknowledged that the price of silver, especially the price of silver, was manipulated. We all know this, anyways. So, if you don't mind, please subscribe. I don't want to beg. Okay, just a little bit. I do appreciate everything you can do for me, and subscribing would be one of the best things you could do. Christmas is coming. Well, not for about another 10 months, but it could be an early Christmas gift. Think about it. I would appreciate it. Now let's get back to the show. Now, it isn't that the market has been suppressed by Western central banks for various reasons. Gold for one reason, silver for another. I argue gold because something called the Gibson paradox, the universal relationship between real interest rates and gold. Now, this is how you support the illusion of strength of Western supremacy in bonds and currency, with the industrial and military complex needing huge amounts of silver to make high-tech weapons. Now, that's why we've suppressed it. That's why, think about how much money it costs to make one missile. It's mind-boggling. And I'm going to explain a little bit about that, so stick with me. And for years, no one ever challenged the price of silver. They just let it flow. But we started to learn more about derivatives, fake silver, fake paper silver, and how they used it to suppress the actual price of silver. Now, silver, actual amount of physical silver versus paper silver, is so low that I don't even know how they can calculate it. Now, for years, no one ever challenged it. No one stood for delivery. But many of the countries that, when I was a kid, say third world, such as China, India, and now leading the charge of physical delivery, and not only that, they are coordinated, they're motivated, they are sophisticated, and they are wealthy. Where do you think we borrow our money from? Now, they understand that this is a rush to accumulate metal. We've been running out of metal for several years now. There's been a deficit just to supply, let alone if someone wants to be a stacker or jewelry. And this rush accumulating metal, well, in an environment where paper prices dominate the rule and no one challenges the West, it's changed very rapidly. He who has commodities, or she who has commodities, wins. And that's what's happening right this second, in real time. And they do that through deliveries. And it is overwhelming a system that has been unrealistic on their amount of metal that's actually available. Now we're finding out. Now, where the same contracts are sold over and over and over again, easy to do when no one stands for delivery, right? And you have enough money to write checks. Got to make sure you got that, because if they don't take delivery, you got to pay them. But not easy to do when people say, yeah, no thanks on the money. I want the actual physical. I want the physical silver. And they say, no thanks on the cash. I'd like the real thing. And stand for delivery. They want the silver. Case in point, TD Bank, who's very short in the overall scheme of things in London and the COMEX. And they came out 3 weeks ago and sent a letter to all of their investors saying, we believe silver's devilish blow off top, always framed in a negative way, has reached its peak and is heading towards $40. What does that tell you? It tells you that, hey guys, you got to run out and dump your silver to the local pawn shop or coin store. It tried to motivate them to get more silver out on the market, which told everyone to short. We are going largely short. They say we believe silver's heading to $40. They got stopped out on Friday the 30th of January, and at a huge loss to them. And these things raising margins, rhetoric, negative rhetoric, telling everyone we're going short. Lease rates expanding. None of this stuff, which always would have crippled the market as it did in 2011. It's not working now. And prices are just running. People who have been ridiculed by their friends and family, by financial advisors even. What the hell are you doing with that stuff? It doesn't pay interest. That's what they say. Why would you buy that? Well, finally, we are being vindicated. And it's a lonely feeling. The people who come here like to talk because they finally have, they want to leave a comment. I do appreciate it. They finally have someone who knows what they're going through. And they're like-minded and they can have a real conversation with me if they like. So leave a comment in the comment section where you're from. And if you're a stacker. Boy, it's just mind-boggling what's going on in the world. How we've been told we're conspiracy theorists. And then all of a sudden, we break into the highest silver ever recorded. We broke out of the $50 range. Then people started thinking, oh, well, it's not going to go any further. It's just going to crash right back. But it didn't. It did a little bit, but it came right back again. Then it hit $60. Then they said, well, it's not going to go any higher. Well, then it hit 70, then 80, 90, 100. We bounced all the way past $122. I didn't feel isolated any longer. I'm glad I didn't listen to the professionals even telling us to sell. Then you kind of figure, well, they must have been in on it, right? I mean, why would they do it and be so animate about it? Probably because they wanted to buy more. They wanted you to dump it and sell it to him or her. Now, see what happens. We're going to have to see what happens now, which is a function of mathematics and logic, which always seems to work out over time. You can't handle, or you can't hide from Mother Nature, right? Nor can you hide from the mathematics. You can run and you can inject variables and you can do all of what you can evade. But just like Father Time, it catches up as much as the mathematics has. When you suppress interest rates the way the West has for a long time to create this illusion of wealth in your real estate, your 401k, deferred comps, if you have that, but creates distortions in asset prices, misallocations of resource and capital. Capital. Um, People are, the banks or companies are like, yeah, I'll hire 50 more people. I'll build a new division. I'll rent some more real estate for our business and or whatever it may be. I know I'm getting a little sidetracked. Maybe they'll buy a second investment property. That those distortions come back to roost over time. Let me grab the next script. But this is all surreal. And you know what? I just want to say to people in a market that moves as fast as this has, in a short term caution is always prudent, right? Nothing goes straight up without taking a breather. You can still coexist with, well, long term bullishness. I am hugely long term bullishness myself. But anytime things move to this level, you got to be careful. But to your, I'll tell you, definitely question it. It is so far different than anything I've ever seen. It is absolutely off the charts. And there's nothing out there that we can look at to show a manipulation any more than what we've seen. I mean, this is not normal market that we've seen in the past couple of weeks, several weeks. Definitely a really interesting mood right now. You know, that's how I am. And I want to talk a little bit more about the repricing angle when it comes to silver because we always ask for a question before we come to these events or before we come to these uh, my shows. You know, is this a repricing moment? What does that even mean? And I think it's interesting that just saying right now, because I'm also seeing people now that we got, I've talked to with triple digit silver in their safes, their vaults, whatever you want to call it, and they want to take profits. And some people have been in for a very long time and are selling at least some of it. Can you just imagine it? You just got to wait. I think. I mean, don't do what I'm telling you to do. But when you think about it, what could possibly be? Yeah, you could lose if you get out at the $40 range, sure. But when you look at the floor right now, it's trying to bounce down. They're trying to bang in the fake paper silver, so it drops the price. They did it a couple times, you know, since Friday, but it bounces right back. It almost hit $80 again before close yesterday. So you can talk about what repricing and what that actually looks like. I mean, well, it's being repriced in the respect that if you're finally finding equilibrium between real supply and demand. Unfortunately, the market has been controlled by paper derivatives where the ability of the Western banks, 8 of them in silver, 8 of them, one or two in Canada. Uh, there's many in Europe, 5 or so in the United States, have maintained the largest concentration short position of any commodity ever traded in the 1,000+ commodities in the COMEX ever. Let me say that again. The largest concentration short position of any commodity ever traded at the COMEX. But why? And to me, that's the first question. And the answer in my mind, because of the military industrial complex. The West has ruled the world through strong military. The amount of silver needed in high-tech weaponry. Now, that's from cruise missiles, F-35s, stealth bombers, submarines, nuclear subs, all this stuff. And these really, really high-tech weaponry, now that are going Mach 3 and Mach 5, whatever they are, the hypersonic missiles, the heat that is generated in the cone of the missiles is so extraordinary. The only thing that works, listen, the only thing that works and works 100% is silver. Nothing can take its place. You have to make sure that you really, really understand this. That is why this proclamation was signed by Trump and multiple other countries, over 50, because we have to preserve the life of America. And the military industrial complex doesn't care about price. Because if it needs 500 ounces in a high-tech weapon, say like a cruise missile, that sells for $20 million for one missile, what the hell do you care what the price is? It's more along the lines of the rest of the world understanding how important and vital it is in everything. Forget about laptops and cell phones and TVs, your car, electric vehicles, solar panels, solar farms. It's ridiculous. It's almost like they made this shit up just because we want to blow it out and get rid of all the silver. But Trump has found a way. He stepped up, sat down with multiple countries, came up with a proclamation, and we're going to see silver change drastically. This is my theory along with my research. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, because you're going to find the same scenario. Now, digital, electronics, you name it, let that alone, monetary aspect of it. What I think the only people, or I think people that need to understand, well, I will say this to you. The only thing we need to understand is who the hell is standing for delivery every single month on the COMEX. Every month for billions of dollars worth, billions upon into December. It was the largest delivery in history on the COMEX market for silver for a December contract, like 65 million ounces. So far in January, which is not primarily a delivery month, so you got to understand that, we're over 40 million ounces. So in the last 40 days, we've seen 120 million ounces nearly stand for delivery. Who's doing that? A mint box, now understand, a mint box of Silver Eagles is 42 pounds. That's 500 ounces of Silver Eagles. Who's buying 110 million ounces? And I think when you understand this, when you look at the deliveries off of the LBMA and the massive deliveries of the COMEX, what I would say to you is that the most well-funded, but more importantly, the most well-informed people at the level don't do this for the hell of it. If you're dropping billions and billions of dollars, do you not think you know what you're doing? Are you not really connected to the inside when you're spending that kind of money? And I argue is that not a one-off. It's been every month since Trump won the election. Any ideas? And then, what do you know? Silver is now a critical mineral on a now reclassified government list. And what do you know? They just said we will put state-sponsored price floors underneath all critical minerals within the next 90 days. Are you glad you listened and waited until the end for the details? Because this is huge. Now, that was a law that was just passed last week. This is to incentivize domestic mining of all of these critical minerals because, prices are where they are. And if there isn't a floor at a high enough level, you cannot incentivize domestic mining for things that are becoming harder to find. And then they just came out and said, now there is a proposal in front of the House, Senate. It's cleared one of the chambers, okay? For some reason it escapes me. But you can look it up and leave it a comment in the comment section what you found. But I'm giving you a direction. I think the House has to now pass the Senate and saying we need to build a strategic stockpile of all of these minerals. What you are seeing is not two brothers in 1980. Remember the Hunt brothers trying to corner a market where same environment, they see way more paper than bars. Meaning fake paper silver, physical bars in someone's hand. And they're supposed to be 1-to-1, which is nowhere near it. Probably 400 plus paper silver versus physical silver. 400-to-1. I bet you it's even more. Even if you found a total of how many paper silver is out there versus physical silver, I would bet you could probably double it. And whatever we're being told, it's probably a lie. Now, if I buy all of these paper contracts, but there's not as many bars back there, well, what if we stand for delivery? What happens? Price goes way up. Well, the exchange changed the rule on the Hunt brothers. They said you can't be that long, but you can be short as much as you want. They had to sell the contracts. 2011, it was about leverage. And the leverage, that's speculation. So what did they do? They raised margins a bunch of times. And if you raise margins on the COMEX, meaning you have to have more in a margin account than you did the day before. They keep raising until the people who are on margin are forced to sell, which drops the price, which budgets more selling, and the price collapses. Didn't come back for 15 years. On Christmas Day, about a week before this year, they started margins. On Christmas Day, you needed 21,000 in your margin account to hold 5,000 ounce silver contract. Silver was $60 roughly on Christmas Day. The next day, they raised it by 30%. See how they manipulate it? Now, if you don't pay, we're going to unwind and liquidate your account. So now you have to put $27,000 $47,000 in your margin account. Wait a minute, 27,000 in your margin account. The reason I said 47 is today is 45,000 an ounce to control 5,000 ounces. A company like, say, JM Bullion will have 2 million ounces of silver in any given time. That's a lot of ounces. And if it costs 45,000 to hedge the exposure, meaning the margin account, means I short 2 million, they would have to short 2 million ounces on the paper COMEX. 2 million here. Wow. If the price falls by 10% an ounce, that company, that bullion dealer, is down $20 million. See how crazy this is? And that company is probably out of business. But what they sold short goes up by the exact amount. But in order to maintain that position, they have to have $47,000 per 5,000 ounces. You have to have millions to back it up. That's before gold, 35, 36,000 for one 100-ounce gold contract. Well, what that does to speculators, the people who might be very wealthy, but they're not wealthy, sovereign central banks, sovereign wealth funds, Tesla, Samsung, they got the new battery coming out, Sony, who don't play on margins. These people get shook, and all of a sudden, they have to sell to cover the margin requirements. Maybe they have 50 contracts, and they have 20 million in their margin accounts, and all of a sudden, the price jacks way up on the margin, and the price of silver is moving up $7 on Friday. It's up right now, and as the market opens in Asia, it's up $3. They're going to get margin calls again. So they sell this weekend. Sell. They're forced to. And what happens? The big money, who is not on the margin, comes in and says, yeah, we'll take them. We'll take them. Take the 50 million ounces of silver every single month for the last 15 or 16 months. I don't know, 30 or 50 million ounces of silver are outstanding for delivery every single month. Ask yourself, who the hell is doing that? And where the mainstream, what are they talking about? Why do I have to scream about this? Or I'm not screaming, but I bring this up a lot. Now, this is so far unusual. It's 4 feet of snow in Death Valley in July, so to speak, crazy. It doesn't happen. And all I can tell you is that's all people need to know, because these are the well-informed traders on the planet who are literally standing for delivery for billions upon billions upon billions and billions and billions of gold and silver. So don't tell the public. That's what they don't do. And the public doesn't know until people like me step up and give you a little detail. The only thing that they see is negative. It's overbought, devilish blow off. Well, they're shorting. The top is in, and it keeps on going. And all I can tell you is that it seems to me that this is being repriced, where you have an asset. You have assets now being repriced via sovereign demand by countries and nations who understand that it's all about dollars and promises from an solvent country like we are holding our treasuries. Instead, it's about who has commodities wins. And that's what happens. You can see it if you open your eyes. Thank you again for stopping in. If you can, please leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know at least where you're at. Give me a heads up if you're a stacker. Let me know if this information has given you some information enough to start stacking more, etc. Let me know what you're thinking. Come on, leave me a message. Try to have a great rest of your day, and God bless. God bless America.